Imagine a place where the air once echoed with laughter, where markets bustled with trade, and where families gathered under starlit skies to share stories by firelight. Now imagine returning to that same place, only to find every street empty, every home abandoned, and every voice silenced. No warning, no trace, no answers. This is not a legend. It is not a fairy tale. It is a chilling chapter buried deep in the pages of history. The night an entire village disappeared without a sound. Doors were left wide open. Meals sat unfinished on wooden tables. Livestock wandered freely, unclaimed, and yet the people were gone. Tonight, we uncover the haunting mystery of a community that vanished overnight. Stay with me, because this story is about to drag you into a darkness where questions far outweigh the answers. Long before tragedy struck, this village thrived like any other. Nestled between rolling hills and thick forest, its cobblestone paths were worn smooth by generations of footsteps. Children laughed as they ran through the fields. Women prepared meals that filled the air with the comforting aroma of bread and spices. Men worked in farms and workshops, their hands hardened but their spirits proud. Every evening, smoke rose from chimneys like quiet prayers to the sky. Lanterns lit the narrow streets, casting a golden glow over doorways. Life was simple, but it was steady. Families gathered after sundown, sharing tales of ancestors and myths that warned of strange things in the woods. Yet those stories were treated as nothing more than tradition. Bedtime tales to frighten children, not warnings for the future. The village had endured wars, famines, and storms. Outsiders often said its people were stubborn, perhaps even blessed, for no matter what happened in the outside world, this small pocket of humanity thrived. Travelers passed through and marveled at its peaceful rhythm. Merchants traded goods here, grateful for the hospitality. To them, it seemed eternal, a place untouched by time. But beneath the calm surface, there were whispers, strange disappearances of animals from the forest, lights spotted in the night sky that no one could explain, visitors who swore they heard voices echoing from the hills long after midnight, though the village slept. Most brushed it off as imagination. Life was too busy to dwell on fears, yet for some, the unease lingered. They spoke of old curses buried deep in the land, of sacred ground disturbed by settlers long ago, of promises broken. Still, on the last evening before the great silence, the village carried on as always. Fires burned bright, laughter echoed, and the stars shimmered above like watchful eyes. No one could have guessed it would be the final night the village would ever know. It began like any other evening. The sun sank behind the hills, painting the sky with streaks of orange and crimson. Children were called inside, livestock herded back into pens, and doors locked against the chill of the coming night. But those who lived near the edge of the forest would later whisper that something felt different. The woods seemed too quiet, as if every bird and animal had fled. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Sometime around midnight, strange lights appeared above the hills. Pale, bluish orbs that flickered in silence. Some swore they saw figures moving in the fields, shadows without shape. Others claimed they heard a deep humming sound, low and steady, like the earth itself was trembling. No cries for help were recorded. No alarm bells rang. Yet when dawn arrived, the village was gone. Doors swung loosely on their hinges. Meals sat cold on wooden tables. A cup of milk was found still warm, as though it had been poured moments before. Beds were neatly made, blankets tucked, as though their owners had intended to return. But no one ever did. The silence that blanketed the village was suffocating. Neighbors from nearby settlements ventured in, expecting to find sickness or signs of violence. Instead, they found nothing but absence. There was no blood, no signs of struggle. Even the animals were calm, grazing as if nothing unusual had happened. The night had stolen not just lives, but the very essence of existence. And in the silence, questions began to grow like weeds in abandoned gardens. When word spread, people arrived in disbelief. Entire families, merchants who had visited just days earlier, and even local officials came to see for themselves. What they found burned itself into their memories forever. Every home was intact. Tables were set for meals that would never be eaten. Pots simmered until the fires beneath them burned out. Tools lay abandoned mid-task, as though the workers had vanished mid-motion. One loom still held unfinished cloth, a needle frozen in place. The marketplace was worse. Stalls stood filled with goods, coins left scattered as though transactions had been interrupted. But no merchants, no buyers, no voices filled the square. It felt as if the village had been erased in a single heartbeat. Relatives of the missing wept in the streets, calling out names that would never be answered. Authorities searched for tracks. None were found. The ground bore no footprints leading away, as though the earth itself had swallowed them whole. The eeriest detail was found in the church. Candles burned low on the altar, wax dripping down like tears. The priest's robe was folded neatly across a chair, but the man himself had vanished, along with his congregation. Search parties combed the forests, the hills, the rivers. They found nothing, no signs of mass graves, no evidence of migration. It was as though the village had been plucked from the world, leaving only shells of life behind. Fear began to spread. Neighboring villages closed their gates, praying the same fate would not befall them. The land was abandoned, cursed by rumor and dread. And over time, nature reclaimed the silence, ivy climbing walls, roots breaking through floors, until the village became nothing more than a ghost of itself. In the years that followed, countless theories emerged. None could explain the truth, but each carried its own horror. One theory claimed the village was cursed, that long ago, its people had broken sacred oaths to the land or to forgotten gods, and their punishment was swift and eternal. Others believed it was a plague, a sickness so sudden and terrible that survivors fled, leaving everything behind. But why then were there no bodies, no graves, no signs of panic? Whispers of the supernatural grew louder. Some claimed it was the work of spirits, others that the forest itself had claimed the villagers as sacrifice. Travelers swore they heard cries in the wind at night or saw ghostly figures wandering the ruins. But perhaps the most chilling theory was that of human hands. Some historians suggested government experiments, mass abductions, or secret cult activity. Could soldiers have erased the village, covering it up to hide something greater? Every theory only deepened the mystery. The absence of answers made it worse. For in mysteries, silence is the loudest terror of all. Land where once life thrived. Paranormal investigators still visit, recording strange voices, capturing unexplainable lights. Scientists take soil samples, yet find nothing beyond the ordinary. But questions remain. Why was there no sign of departure? No belongings taken? No tracks? No letters? No evidence of choice? Tourists who walk the ruins often describe an overwhelming sense of dread, as if unseen eyes are watching. Some report hearing whispers in languages they don't know. A few have collapsed, overwhelmed by terror, insisting they saw the village alive again, only to blink and see it crumble back to ruin. The story of this vanished village endures not because of what we know, but because of what we cannot answer. And perhaps that is the darkest truth of all. Some mysteries are not meant to be solved. So I ask you, the viewer, what do you believe happened on that silent night?